At 12 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stars. UK EU to hold talks on Israel-Iran war. President Tinubu's security cordon nearly breached in Kaduna State. CDS Musa advocates fencing of porous borders to ensure national security. And terrorists warn Kebbi farmers against modern equipment. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The world news at 12 begins outside the shores of Nigeria, where the United Kingdom, French and German foreign ministers will hold talks with their Iranian counterpart in Geneva today as part of efforts to ease the Israel-Iran conflict. It comes after the White House says Donald Trump will decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will join Israeli strikes on Iran. The exchange of fire between Israel and Iran has continued, with the Israeli military saying it attacked dozens of targets, including what it called missile manufacturing site in Tehran. Emergency services say 7 people have been injured in Beersheba, southern Israel, after an Iranian missile struck a technology park. In a recent development back home, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's security cordon was nearly breached while he was delivering his speech in Kaduna on Thursday. The president was in the northern state to commission some projects done by the Uba Sani-led administration. While delivering his speech, an unidentified individual made the move at the president's position, but he was quickly tackled by the president's bodyguards. President Tinubu, who appeared momentarily taken aback, paused briefly as security operatives quickly intervened and restrained the individual. In reaction, President Tinubu simply remarked, "Leave him alone," before continuing his address. Meanwhile, in a post on X.com, the senior special assistant on digital and new media, Otega Ogra, commended the president's security details for their conduct. Amid mounting speculation and the public debate over Vice President Kashim Shettima's political future, the president on Thursday clarified that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not yet decided on a running mate for the 2027 presidential election. This was made known by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, during an interview with journalists. Responding to questions about the vice president's notable absence from recent endorsement campaigns for President Tinubu's second-term bid, Ononuga stated that the choice of a running mate is premature at this stage. He also stressed that the current silence from the presidency should not be misconstrued as a snub or confirmation of exclusion. The presidential aide added that the speculation of a rift between President Tinubu and Vice President Shettima, circulating even before the current endorsement debate, has always been baseless. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has called for the fencing of Nigeria's borders as a critical step towards addressing the country's growing insecurity. In a Monitor television interview on Thursday, he warned that terrorists are exploiting Nigeria's porous borders, bringing in arms and fighters, and in some cases deploying advanced surveillance equipment such as drones. General Musa proposed that fencing should begin with high-risk zones like the Niger-Nigeria border, supported by wire mesh, surveillance drones, and domestically produced materials such as steel from Ajaokuta, to also stimulate local industry and job creation. Let's take a listen to Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, speaking on the fencing of porous borders as a measure to ensure enhanced security in Nigeria.
Having gone through my analysis and looking at the Sahel, the main attraction to all these terrorists and bandits is Nigeria, because this perception Nigeria is a rich country.
And that it's that there's no law to prevent them from getting in.
And the borders are porous. So now the easiest way is, and that's why it's important, if you follow the news and see the kind of killings going on in Niger, Chad, and in Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, so much. If this continues like this in the next 1 year, there will be issues. And of recent, there were attacks from Burkina Faso in Benin Republic. It's just 50 kilometers to Nigeria. That is another area. So for me, I think, and like I mentioned, all around us we have francophone countries. Our ideologies are not the same. For us to be secure, it is important. Let us fence our borders. Some people say, look, it's expensive, but I say, what is money if you are dead?
Indeed.
So
You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. In a recent development, farmers in Ogie local government area of Kebbi State have reportedly received threats from terrorists believed to be members of the Lakurawa group, warning them against replacing traditional cattle-driven farming methods with mechanized equipment. According to reports by security analyst Zagazola Makama, the terrorists warned that anyone found using mechanized tools in place of cattle for farming would be executed. The warning has triggered fear and panic amongst residents of affected communities, many of whom had begun shifting to modern farming techniques in response to ongoing cattle rustling in the region. An intelligence source also reportedly confirmed that the threats were genuine and circulated amongst several villages in Ogie local government area. Community members are now calling for urgent intervention from the Nigerian military and government. The area has so far repeated attacks and widespread cattle rustling allegedly by the same group. In April, at least 13 vigilantes were killed in Morai village, also in Ogie local government area, after suspected Lakurawa gunmen ambushed them during a failed attempt to recover stolen livestock. You're listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break and return with more stories and the news analysis segment. Do stay tuned. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of People 90.3 FM. Thank you for staying tuned. I have Mr. Awa Omiko, veteran journalist and political, social and national affairs analyst, to actually shed light into some issues and, delve into analysis on some of the issues and news this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Awa Omiko, and thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for everything.
All right, it's a pleasure. Let's talk about some of the issues in the news this morning. All right, beginning with, of course, what's happening around us right here in Nigeria. President Tinubu's security cordon was nearly breached in Kaduna yesterday. This was, of course, after some youths in Kaduna State were pulling down his billboards and the billboards of some of his supporters, APC billboards, literally, in Kaduna State, venting such anger, right? The president reacted momentarily, but then his bodyguards really curled the situation at that point. And of course, Nigerians are happy about that. But what could actually prompt someone, after people have gone about destroying billboards, to actually go closer to the president? Is that kind of like a scare tactic or something? What's your take on that?
Well, everything was sent to emotion. Some of us in public space can't even control our emotion. You can see how the youth went gaga, pulling down all those things. It was a team meted out at the presidency to actually tell him that the situation is not pleasant and that his administration is not having great positive impact on them. And you can see the reversal and how.
So you believe it was a display of aggression, even though the president urged his handlers to leave such person alone?
It was a display of bottled up aggression. It was an outburst of the situation on ground. And vis-a-vis the challenges, the economy, everything was just pent up. So it was an outburst of that aggression. And you can see this can be likened to the time during the UPN and the MPN. What happened in the Western region too? I think it's actually in 1979 down to 8. You can see what happened, how aggressive the youth were for that period. And this similar thing actually replicated itself. So in the northwest of Nigeria, you can see that aggression. If the government in power is not really impacting on the people positively, they're about to express their anger. And such anger could be expressed in diverse ways. And besides, once it is not destructive to human life, to property, share property, to human life, to properties, and to other things, those angers, even in the Constitution, is permissible. Because we are all social human beings. We are all social beings. And we are bound to express our anger in diverse forms. So first, it is not to the detriment of the next person, and that is part of your fundamental human right. You can't be robbing me and asking me to keep quiet. Look at the deaths, look at people can't move around, even from that region. And you know Kaduna State, how tense a state it could be. And now, if you look at what is happening in Benue State, the next place will be in Kaduna, and look at the so-called governor then, can't even control the situation of the killing and every other thing. So the people, it just have to express their bitterness, and that is why they have done that. And for the APC to have retaliated, it shows a level of anger, and for them not able to control themselves to the point of knowing that there could be a way of shooting those youth. You could tell them there, don't worry.
How better could the youth have been suited? Because, you know, it's not just in Kaduna State that there is discontent amongst the youth, right? The president went there from Benue. And, you know, when he went to Benue State...
You look at the policies,
okay,
listen to them, call their headship, the leaders, and ask them what exactly do they want. For every human being has a price. And that price is not the price of underhand pricing. It is in the pricing of stabilities on board and hearing from each other. It is always better to judge than to war. When you hear from each other, you know where the shoes pinches most. The need of the people in Lagos may not be the need of people in that region. There should have been a way of suiting the situation so that it will not gravitate, it will not be elevated from that level of anger to something else.
All right. You know
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Awa Omiko.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you hear my last point?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did get that. Thank you so much, and I do appreciate how you've been able to look at the issues from different angles, right? But right now, many Nigerians feel that this current administration is much more focused on the coming election cycle and more on politics rather than governance, right? In the midst of all of this, there's speculation: will the Vice President Shetima be part of President Tinubu's? Will he be President Tinubu's running mate in 2027? That has been a recurring question based on utterances by some APC stalwarts, right, that did even degenerate into issues.
You see, if you look at the presidency, and it's like that's a gully, and that gully, you can't bring two bedfellows together under one leadership, no matter how technical or how tactical or strategic you may think you are. But the issue is that beginning to dance a different musical tune. You can see that Babasheyi is trying to bring in is gradually making the government a matrilineal system that is bringing more of his family people. What is the relevance of Sheyi in the government? And you can see the other, his vice, is equally trying to sing another tune of bringing his people. I think both of them are not, from the look of things, if they continue this way, they may be changed. And Shetima himself already you can see what the northwestern youth about, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago were clamoring for, that they will only support APC, Shetima and Tinubu and no other person. Which means there's something on the ground which most people are not yet seeing. And if that thing is not properly cemented, if that crack is not blocked, it might not fare well on the APC. And if again, if Tinubu refuses to base his policies on, so he has some laudable policies, they are laudable. Only I'm afraid.
Which of the policies would you say is laudable?
A state. I'm afraid if we be able to implement all those things. But if he could be able to implement some of those economic policies across board and let it snowball to the grassroots level, and let people begin to feel the impact and to know that even though we are hungry today, it's going to lead to our own better tomorrow. Say it in a clear tune and not speaking one today and meaning a different thing tomorrow. Spell it out in a clear tune. I think the people will be able to understand you and follow you. Nigerians are very, very easy, very, very cheap, and very, very calm to rule. At least Babangida can confirm that another president has ruled us. And you can see if that method can be applied, I believe you me that no matter what, the APC Shetima will be united. But in a place where you sing a discordant tune, northern sing along, the other southern sing along, it will further create a very great gully, not only in governance, not only in politics, but in the civil society of the country, and in damaging our economy the more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's quickly talk about
Hello?
security. I can hear you, Mr.
Hello?
Awa Omiko. I can hear you. Can you hear me, sir?
Hello? Hello? Have I gone off air?
No, you haven't, Mr. Awa Omiko. I can hear you quite clearly.
Yes.
Thank you
I've
so
said
much.
it.
Yes. I
Thank
want to
you.
talk about security or insecurity as the case may be. The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa believes that fencing our porous borders will actually ensure national security and keep out these criminal and terrorist elements, actually. But we're looking at the ones who are already inside, causing rot from within, the terrorists who are already in. How about we phase them out? And do you also believe that fencing Nigeria's borders can enhance our national security?
You see, when it comes to insecurity, I'm fed up of talking about it because everything that has to do with our security architecture has gone gaga. We know the truth and we refuse to implement them. There's a common proverb among the Yoruba people. It says "Kokoro tonje fonwe follower," which means the insects that the ants or whatever, the insect that is destroying the leaves within the leaf. You can see that one of the mistakes we made in recruiting the so-called repentant Boko Haram into the Nigerian military. That's a mistake. Number one, it has never been done anywhere. Let them go and read books about insecurity or whatever. You see that you cannot recruit in a repentant criminal into a place where you now give him power to carry out his misconduct. That is one. And secondly, we are still true. We are, as I keep on saying it, we are still nationalists. We are not patriotic. The number one patriotic citizens should be the military. But our military are not patriotic. They are nationalists. And what being a nationalist, let me just give you a layman meaning of nationalist and nationalism. It's nothing but tribalism. And that is what we are facing. We have allowed some sections of this country to believe that they have the birthright to control the affairs of this country. And that is why things are like that. If you like, make a border porous or whatever. If our people are patriotic enough, we want to flush out all those things. The issue remains that we are still not yet ready. And by the time we wake up to realize what is actually happening, it might be too late. And I pray that never lead us to any civil war. Because if we fight a war again, we can never come back as Nigeria. If you look at what is actually happening in the east, in the north, even in the so-called middle belt, I stand to be corrected anywhere, and I know I'm 99.99% right. It has the underground hand of the government, underground hand of the certain of the people, underground hand of the political elite of this country and in the northern region, and underground hand of the leaders, the traditional leaders, quote them unquote, of the things happening there. And until we begin to face these people and bring them to book, we are getting nowhere. If you like, bring Americans. When Americans came to help, they said they gave it the same summary of what I just done, that we are still not yet ready. How can you set off somebody against itself? That is what we're trying to do. Look at all the whole military arms. Have you ever seen the TikTok, the videos, the video clips those Boko Haram people sent? Have you ever seen the video clips those people made in the public domain? It shows that they are in control. Look at the weaponry they display. At the level, the sophistication of weapons they put on air, and you look at the money they share, and you look at the way they arrest, they be able to capture our soldiers as if they were not trained. It shows that it is the underhand. They have the underground hand that's making them to capture our soldiers as if they are primary school pupils. Nigeria has the best soldiers, one of the best soldiers in the world. But here, because of conspiracy, because of not being patriotic, we throw them away. We give them to these Boko Harams and let them just kill and for nothing. Do you know what it means to train a soldier? And do you know the level of sophistication they go through? That because of conspiracy, you will know that the Boko Haram are somewhere, you will still invite them to go and attack those people. Look, until we are serious with our security architecture, until we are serious with this country, and until we are serious with what is happening, we are still not yet learning, or have we learned enough? Until we are serious to do all those things, we can never get our security right. And I owe anybody no apology on my comment. Thank you.
There is no, gainsaying the fact that while we're talking about insecurity on one hand, on the other hand, the question of 2027 elections still loom large, to be President Tinubu's second term. El-Rufai is of the opinion that it is impossible for President Tinubu to win the 2027 elections, and he's hinging this on a few things. El-Rufai recently, that was earlier this year, defected to the Social Democratic Party. Anyway, he has said that the president does not have what it takes. He says anyone that thinks it is possible for President Bola Tinubu to get re-elected is living in another country, not Nigeria. I do not see a pathway for him. I'm quoting El-Rufai verbatim. Would you say he's saying this because he has some strong underground plans? Maybe the coalition is really coming on strong and they're going to, just roll out a strategy that's never seen before to actually reclaim political power from the APC? Or is it just speaking as someone who's still, as some people would say, pained about all of the issues that have happened between him and the president? What's your take on that, Mr. Omiko?
El-Rufai is only thinking from both mouths. El-Rufai is like a wounded soldier. And El-Rufai, I can't believe him because he's a man that will say one and mean the rest and mean the opposite. Where was he when the Kaduna riot? Where when the Kaduna killing happened? Was it not there? Was it not at the time? Did he not at the time put his child in a primary school and announce to the whole world that his child is his son is in public school? Yeah? But the same week, later he knew that there's going to be a killing in that school and there's going to be destruction in that school and that local government. He went there, he removed the boy, and send the boy outside the country. And what happened? Is that not a seller? If Nigeria were to be a place where the law holds its ground, and where the people can actually stand, and I don't blame the people because there is no social institute. The social institutes to defend them are all destroyed. If Nigeria were to be in such a country where the law has its full meaning, the likes of El-Rufai wouldn't be in public to talk to us about politics. He would have been killed if he had to be in a country like China or Japan. Even in the US, he would have been disgraced out. He would have been killed or what else. So for him to come out to be telling us that Tinubu or not, who is he to even Tinubu? Or who is he to talk about election 2027? Or who is he to decide the road? He
can't talk about it, Mr. Awa Omiko. He's one of the stakeholders. He has an ox to go in the game, right? So why wouldn't he talk about it?
Excuse me, Choma. When you have a stakeholder, I said he's a wounded soldier because he neither PDP nor APC can he embrace. So he just trying to exist just to make sure that they create more confusion in the polity, so that they believe that Tinubu is not performing. Let me tell you, there could be a magic wand. Tinubu just spent two years. There could be a magic wand, and all those policies could turn over. What is still wrong with this Mr. Tinubu or Ladi Tinubu or Babashi is that the way he's still trying to gain his ground, and he wants every part of this country to embrace him, which is not happening. And these are not happening because the ground has already been rough. made rough before he's coming in. And through the way he came in through the back door, and he bulldozed his way in, and people are still not still yet settled with that. So with time, let's give this man the third time. We have 4 years. And one of the things I used to say is that the best way to root out a bad government is to allow him to free himself. That is the rule in Nigeria.
Has that been working for us recently?
Yes.
Has that been working for us? If you say
Yes,
let's allow it, right? Do we not have successive leaders who come in and promise heaven and earth and then do not even up to half of that? They leave
Yes,
the seat
that
and
is
then
what- that
now
is what
start
I-
blaming the previous government for their failures. Okay? So if
No,
we're looking at it that way, has it
I'm-
worked for
I'm
us
not-
at all?
I'm not blaming the previous government because they are one. They are one. It's just like the human being changing shirts or wrapper. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm only blaming the people because we have failed to come up with a very draconian policy that will allow these bad leaders to be called to book. And I said we cannot create such a draconian system because the institutions that would have supported them have all been broken down. So what is it? Look, I once said it during the time of Buhari. I said the only way Buhari can appease himself is allow him to be voted out. And he actually used his time and showed us the nonsense.
But while he's using the time, there are
voted out.
Nigerians whose daily lives depend on the policies that he makes while in office. If we're saying let's wait for this successive government to just outlive their times, we're adding in ages every day, every 8 years of every government outliving their time, hoping that the next one will be better. We cannot continue to thrive on hope.
How many of them has your resilience, has your opposition been able to bring out to send out of government? The only person that will say happened to such a level was just IDB. And after all that, it has always been one cube of the other, one cube of the other. If you look at Nigerian political history. So the only way you should know that even in this economy, every politician, every head of state bulldozes his way into that place in terms of money, in terms of otherwise. Except we are aggressive enough to push them out. And if you are not, that is why we begin to have the likes of El-Rufai. What we can only say is that we should come together and say no to bad governance. Be it a Tinubu or be it anybody. Say no. By the time we put fire on them, call them to give us account of what they are doing and try to let us know your policy, at least they'll be able to sit up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's quickly talk about what's happening in Kebbi State just before you go, though our time is rounding up, right? In Kebbi State, some terrorist elements have been threatening farmers, warning them against using modern equipment, saying they should rather use cattle, to do whatever they want to do on their farms. And now the farmers are complaining, saying they can no longer accede to these demands. But isn't it really ridiculous, is this the reason why they're killing people? Because they want us to maybe go back to the Stone Age, or they want the people in these regions to go back to traditional, let's say, Stone Age equipment. How does that make life better? How does that perpetuate the ideology? Or rather, how does that help the ideology that these groups are trying to, perpetuate?
You see, now every farmer is a suspect. Once there is a criminality in a society, or once there's a criminality in a place, everybody becomes a suspect. If you begin to look at Kebbi State, the pesticides, what happened? Look at what happened in onion, how they said the seed or whatever did not did not grow well because it was an imported seed. Now, if you look again, some of them are using this so-called modern mechanics to bring in arms. And what do you think? For people to have said, let us go back to our traditional system. They know what they actually meant. And for the government to have said, that traditional system will help us. Then, yes, we have crop rotation. And when we begin to talk of crop rotation, things were happening, things were going well, crops were growing. If they can't abide to that, I commend that government, the government of Kebbi State. Let them apply it to the letters. If you're a farmer and you can't abide to that, it means you have an authorial motive in the
How
state.
exactly do you want them to do that if they are faced with threats by, these criminal elements
Excuse me.
that want to decimate them?
Mind you, the traditional system was practiced in Egypt, and Egypt at the time was able to feed the world. This same so-called traditional system, they're saying how applicable is it? It's still being practiced in Russia, and that is why they are even if still practiced in Russia and even in China and in India, that is the high producer of rice, and even in China. So we should allow that to take its effect, and that begin to look into it. And remember, it is easier to import arms using this modern method. So, Choma, let's allow that state to carry out that. Before they came up with that, they would have investigated it. And I commend the governor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your analysis right here on the World News at 12, Mr. Awa Omiko. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, then you have been listening to World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that the UK and the EU will hold talks on the Israel and the Iran war. President Tinubu's security cordon nearly breached in Kaduna State. CDS Musa advocates fencing porous borders to ensure national security, and terrorists warn Kebbi farmers against modern equipment. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. For coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned on our news bulletins, do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good afternoon. Thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Matters will be coming up shortly.